Even lambs have teeth. In this film, you will see two fierce girls who decide to take revenge on those who use their bodies for their pleasure. Make sure you watch till the end for one of the most satisfying endings. The movie kicks off with two best friends, the buttoned-up Katie and the free-spirited Sloane, eagerly anticipating their upcoming adventure. They're heading to Ecofield Organic Farms for a month to save up some cash for a shopping spree in New York City. Early the next morning, Katie's cop uncle, Jason, picks them up. They're spending a night at Jason's place with his girlfriend before heading to the farm. As they settle in, Sloane suggests they use fake names while in town. Sloane picks Heather, and Katie goes with Ripley. The next day, Uncle Jason drops them off at a station to catch a bus to the farm. Being the protective cop he is, Jason insists they come up with a safe word system in case of trouble. Katie has to text him a different code word every day, starting with Apple. With some time to kill before the bus arrives, they decide to wait at a cafe. There, they catch the eye of two local guys and end up sharing a table. Introducing themselves with their fake names, they meet the brothers Jed and Lucas. The brothers offer Katie and Sloane a ride to the farm, but Jed drives past, leaving them confused. They end up at Jed and Lucas' place, where they're drugged by the brothers' sketchy mother. Despite sending a safe word text to her uncle, they're knocked out by Jed and Lucas. Waking up chained in the woods the next day, they're told this is their new home by Jed. They meet Boris, Jed's boss, who checks Katie's phone to trace their whereabouts. Boris quickly discovers that Katie and Sloane lied about their names and the code word in Katie's text. They're forced to reveal that Apple is their safety word. With the truth out, Katie and Sloane prepare to take a bath with makeshift showers when the town's corrupt sheriff arrives, gun drawn. The sheriff, who condones human trafficking, has come to assault one of the women. After the vile sheriff has his way, Sloane tries to comfort a shaken Katie. Meanwhile, Uncle Jason grows worried because the latest text from Katie repeats yesterday's safe word. Back in the woods, Jed and Lucas greet a new customer, a scruffy-looking guy. He chooses Sloane and takes her inside the trailer, revealing himself to be a bit of a psycho. Uncle Jason, now seriously worried, calls the farm where Katie and Sloane were supposed to work. He learns they never arrived, confirming his fears. Determined to find them, he sets off in search. Meanwhile, things go from bad to worse for Katie and Sloane. A new, even sketchier customer arrives. Jed and Lucas cover the girls' heads as the pig mask-wearing man approaches. He picks Sloane and takes her to the trailer. When he leaves, Katie comforts a deeply traumatized Sloane. In the next scene, Uncle Jason reaches the sheriff's office and confronts the perverted sheriff. It's revealed that Jason isn't just a cop, he's actually an FBI agent. He voices his concerns, convinced that his niece and her friend have been kidnapped. To make things more intense, Uncle Jason decides to tell the sheriff how he knows Katie and Sloane are in trouble because Katie didn't use a new code word in her latest text. Back in the woods, the sheriff tips off the kidnappers about Uncle Jason being an FBI agent and Katie lying about the safe word. Fearing FBI interference in their human trafficking operation, Boris orders Jed to kill both women and dispose of their bodies. Unbeknownst to them, Katie overhears the entire conversation. Meanwhile, Uncle Jason visits the cafe where he last saw Katie and Sloane. He questions the barista, who clearly remembers the blue truck the girls left in. The next day, Katie tells Sloane that the kidnappers plan to kill them. Soon after, the kidnappers arrive with the scruffy guy, leaving him to watch over them. Katie seizes the opportunity, seducing him and then brutally ripping his throat with her teeth. The women free themselves from their chains. Not long after, the sheriff arrives, likely to kill them. But before he can act, Katie and Sloane steal his car and drive back to town. They hit up a hardware store to gear up for some serious payback. They ask the cashier about Boris, the man with the blue truck, and he tells them where Boris lives. Meanwhile, Uncle Jason continues his investigation at the town's car insurance office. He fabricates a story about a collision with a blue truck to find out who owns it. Back at Boris's house, Katie and Sloane sneak up on him and attack with nail-spiked tennis balls, injuring him badly. Now that the tables have turned, Boris pleads for his life, even offering money in exchange. Just then, Uncle Jason pulls up in front of Boris's house. Inside, Katie and Sloane question Boris about the identity of the man with the pig mask. When he refuses to talk, they use a makeshift spear to fatally wound him. By the time Uncle Jason enters, Katie and Sloane have already left, leaving him to find a dying Boris. Jason hears car engines roaring and rushes outside to see Katie and Sloane driving away. He quickly takes the dying Boris to the hospital. In the next scene, the sheriff informs Uncle Jason that Boris didn't make it. Growing increasingly worried, Jason tries calling Katie's phone, but then, sure. Here's a more engaging and streamlined version of the next part of your script. Realizing his cover is blown, the sheriff draws his gun. Meanwhile, Katie and Sloane pull up in front of a church and discover that the pig mask guy is actually the town's priest. Sloane confronts her rapist inside the church, and with Katie's help, they take him down. As they drive away, the two best friends seem content and carefree. But when they stop and step out of the car, it's revealed that the priest is chained behind the truck. For their final blow, they pour gasoline on him and set him on fire before driving off. While Katie and Sloane are thriving, Uncle Jason is now held captive by the sheriff, who has also captured two new young women. Luckily, Katie and Sloane arrive just in time. They tie up the sheriff and torture him with a game of Russian roulette. Unhinged but driven by justice, Katie finishes him off with a blow to the head. They free the captive women, instructing them to free Uncle Jason. When Jason asks who killed the sheriff, the women stay silent out of gratitude to Katie and Sloane for saving them. Next, Katie and Sloane visit Jed and Lucas' mother. They drug her just as she drugged them days ago, then tie her up and take her to the basement where Jed is already bound and gagged. The scene intensifies as Katie and Sloane mercilessly bash Jed's head in with baseball bats, with his mother forced to witness the gruesome act. Next, they take her to Lucas, also bound to a chair. Instead of delivering the fatal blow themselves, they force Lucas to beat his own mother with a bat. When he hesitates, they shoot him dead, staging it to look like a suicide to pin all the murders on him. Desperate, the mother offers them money to spare her life. But Katie, fueled by vengeance, grabs a lawnmower and brutally ends her life with it. In the following scene, Uncle Jason arrives at Katie's house. Time has passed, and he picks up Katie and Sloane. They're dropped off at the airport, brimming with excitement as they head to New York City.